100 poets, one poem each. Number 5. The poem Okuyama ni momiji fumiwake naku shika no kiku toki zo aki wa kanashiki. Deep in the mountain, treading through the fallen leaves, a deer is crying. When I hear that voice, autumn becomes sadness itself. 31 syllables, the 5th poem. In the anthology of 100, the first poem, A Wet Sleeve in an Autumn Field. The second poem, White Robes Drying on a Sacred Mountain. The third poem, The Long Night of the Mountain Bird. The fourth poem, Snow Falling on Fuji. The fifth poem brings us deeper into the mountains, deeper into the autumn. A deer in the fallen leaves, a voice that makes the season itself sadness. The poet who may not exist, his name is Sarumaru Dayu. In Japanese, Sarumaru means monkey circle. Dayu is a title for someone of the 5th rank or above, the monkey circle nobleman. He is listed among the 36 poetry immortals, the 36 greatest poets in the Japanese tradition, selected in the 10th century, an honor that placed him alongside Hitomaro and Akihito, and the greatest names of the age. And yet, almost nothing is known about him. His birth date is unknown, his death date is unknown. His life is unknown. The official chronicles of his time do not mention him. The records that would confirm his rank, his position, his existence as a documented person do not exist. Some scholars believe he existed. Some scholars believe he did not. Some believe the name Sarumaru Dayu refers not to a real person, but to a legendary figure, a name attached to anonymous poems to give them an author. The question has never been resolved. It has been argued for centuries, and the arguing continues. The poem that may not be his. This poem appears in the Kokinshu, the first great imperial anthology of Japanese poetry, listed not as the work of Sarumaru Dayu, but as yomibito shirazu, a person whose name we do not know. The poem that bears his name in the 100 Poets is an anonymous poem in the source text. It was attributed to him somewhere between the Kokinshu and the compilation of the 100 Poets. By whom, why, when, nobody knows. So poem number 5 is a poem of unknown origin, by a poet of unknown existence, a mystery inside a mystery, an autumn sadness with no name attached to it, only the voice, and the fallen leaves, and the deer. The same man as Hitomaro, the philosopher Umehara Takeshi, proposed something remarkable in his book The Song at the Bottom of the Water, the same book where he argued that Hitomaro was executed. He also proposed this. Hitomaro and Sarumaru Dayu were the same person. His argument, Hitomaro was killed by the court. The people who killed him could not erase his poetry. His poetry was too famous, too loved, but they could erase his name. They could attribute his poems to a fictional figure, a monkey circle nobleman, a name that pointed nowhere, a name that protected the poems while hiding the poet. It is a dramatic theory. Most scholars reject it. The evidence is too thin. The argument rests on coincidences and the absence of records rather than the presence of proof, but it is a theory that holds something true about the tradition, the truth that great poetry sometimes loses its author, that the voice survives when the person has been made to disappear. The deer. The deer in Japanese poetry is the animal of autumn. From the Manyoshu onward, from the oldest layers of the tradition, the deer's cry has been the sound of autumn sadness, not the visual image of autumn, the sound of it, the particular cry of the male deer in the season when he calls for the female. The cry has a quality that the Japanese ear has always found, specifically autumnal, not because deer only cry in autumn, because the cry reaches something in the person listening that autumn itself reaches, the feeling of something beautiful that is also ending, that is already leaving, even as you hear it. The male deer cries for the female is not there, or the female is there, but the valley between them cannot be crossed by sound alone. The cry goes out, it reaches the person listening in the poem, it does not reach the one it was made for. This is why the deer's cry is sadness, not because sadness is what autumn is, because sadness is what longing sounds like when it echoes through fallen leaves in a mountain no one crosses. The fallen leaves. Momiji fumiwake, treading through the fallen leaves. The word momiji, usually translated as autumn leaves, but more specifically the act of changing color, the moment of the change, the maple going from green to the orange and red, that is its final color before falling. Fumiwake, treading through, separating with feet, the leaves deep enough to wade through, the mountain floor covered, the deer's feet invisible beneath the color. The image is precise. The deer is not standing in the mountain. The deer is moving through it, walking through a depth of color, treading on what was once above, what was once the canopy of the mountain, is now underfoot. The falling has happened. The beauty of the falling is what remains, and the deer walks through it and cries. Sadness. The last line of the poem, Aki wa kanashiki, autumn is sadness, or autumn becomes sadness, or this is when autumn is sad. The word zo before kanashiki, the emphatic particle, it is precisely now. It is at this moment, hearing this voice, that the autumn becomes what it is. Not all of autumn. This moment, this voice, this mountain, this depth of fallen color, the particular moment when what the season is arrives in full, when you stop moving and you hear it and you know. This is what the poem is, the moment of knowing, the moment when the season stops being a calendar fact and becomes a feeling, when the voice of the deer in the fallen leaves of the mountain tells you what autumn is. The mystery that holds. Does it matter whether Sarumaru Dayu existed? Does it matter whether he wrote this poem? The poem exists. The voice in the poem exists. The deer in the fallen leaves exists. The moment of sadness exists. Someone felt this in the mountains of Japan, perhaps 14 centuries ago, perhaps longer. Someone heard a deer cry in the fallen leaves and felt the autumn become sadness and found the 31 syllables for it. We do not know who. The name attached to the poem is a name that may not have been a person. The poem attached to the name is a poem that may not have been his. But the feeling is real. The deer cried. The leaves were underfoot. The autumn was sadness, and someone heard it, and the hearing has lasted. Okuyama ni momiji fumiwake naku shika no koe kiku toki zo aki wa kanashiki. Deep in the mountain, through the fallen leaves, a voice, autumn, sadness.